You'll hear it.
The big term of 2024, Anderson, is the manosphere, and we're all living in the manosphere now.
Boy, this thing could be called Rule Zero.
That was the old show. Not anymore. Hey, we're live. We're live. Mics are hot. Guys, welcome to a very special edition of Irrational Male. I hope I'm going to say your name right. Martae Ruelas. Ruelas.
No, there's no rolling of the tongue.
Ruelas. Okay.
You want to say it as English as possible.
Anyways, we got Martae in, and I think you guys are going to enjoy this one. There we go.
The big.
Yeah, now you got to cut that out. All right, guys. I got Martae Ruelas.
Ruelas.
Sounds even better. Okay. I know. Fucking it up. All right, here we go. Yeah, you're right. The music will end up giving us a copyright strike. Thank you very much. I'll have to probably mute that shit out. Hey, guys. Well, I have Martae Ruelas, right?
Ruelas.
Yeah. Ruelas. Okay, so I got to give you guys
8 times a try.
I have to give some background for. I got to give some background information first. So, you are an IFBB pro. You have your pro card, right?
Yes, I'm an IFBB pro in the 212 weight class. That's only one step over from the open class.
And then you're out of Los Angeles, correct?
I'm out of Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah,
or you could say Scottsdale.
That's right. Scottsdale, yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
And then so you drove up here. I couldn't get you on the show for tomorrow's show for Access Vegas. I was going to. I apologize. I have to start. I got to start with the fucking apologies first. So
ironically, it's a mystery how this happened.
Yeah. Anyways, we actually, and here's the announcement. Thank you for making the announcement for me. We have Mystery on as the male guest for tomorrow, and so it kind of preempted everybody. And I didn't even know until like Monday. So, so anyways, we've got Mystery coming in on tomorrow's show, and one of his friends too. So I'm not really sure, but anyways, so my best alternative was to have you come and do a show here. And the thing is it works out better because I did not know what your affiliation was with Andrew Wilson and the rest of these guys who are sort of part of Andrew Wilson's crew. So you don't know this yet, but I actually hit up Andrew before the show to let him know that you were going to be on. So he's probably watching right now.
Yeah.
But he gave you the thumbs up. So I'm glad to have you. Thank you for welcome
to
Red One Studios.
If Andrew says no, it's a no. So here's the thing though, is I'm against people who backstab. I don't like backbiters at all. I'm pretty sure they'll co-sign me on this too. one of the affiliations, I think one of the things that we can say are synonymous with people who backbite are people that just don't listen to what the fuck you say if it's good advice. They don't do this often. Like if we have a good crew and we're around each other, but I try to help you out and you're just like, screw off, do your own thing. You do that enough times, it's like, are you really in this crew, or are you really trying to become one in harmony with what we're doing?
Right.
So I look up to him a lot. I respect him a lot. He does have a leadership role, and people can say, well, I'm not a role model. Well, it's not for you to decide. We can decide
Other
that
people
for
get to
ourselves.
decide whether or not you are. Yeah. So like, and then you and I talked last night and a little bit today. And like, I had no idea, like I was going to have you on just cause you're a bodybuilder. You know? I just wanted to have you on so I could like get, cause I'm trying to do,
Of course.
I'm trying to, you know, money, muscles and game. Right. So you would be the muscle side. If I put on Alvaro Pena, or I had Hide Yamagishi or Iris Kyle in here, people go, oh, I don't like muscles on girls. You would like them on Iris Kyle because she's 10-time Miss Olympia. So, but anyway, at least you're going to respect that. That's for damn sure.
I do have a controversial question for you though.
We're already started.
We're probably going to have the
You're going to interview me now.
The IFBB is going to come after me after this.
What's my stack?
Well, no, that's actually
people ask me that on
that's
Sunday.
Normative actually to ask what I'm on or something. My question to you, Rolo, is if you look at somebody like Iris Kyle's an 10-time Miss Olympia champion. She's a bodybuilder, of course, but I have to ask you a question. What, other than self-ID, what's the difference between a woman transitioning into a man and a female bodybuilder?
I think it's the mindset, honestly. Because like
that would be self-ID.
Well, it is, but I would say
besides
beyond that,
what would be the difference?
Yeah, so like when I talk, because Iris is like one of the sweetest women I know, right? Like when I go and I see her, but like she's very driven, she's very ambitious, right? So she had to have some of that before she started, wanting to become Miss Olympia. And I can't put words in her mouth because she's I respect her. She's a good friend. Same. But yeah, I mean, you're essentially you're doing male hormones. Let's be honest, right? It's like
people doing the transitioning process.
The thing is like, then there's like the muscle mommies and stuff like that. There's like the girls who are like there's by order of degree. Like if you look at Iris is like, she's Miss Olympia. That's what they do. They're there to show off maximum amount of muscle to, and be, because it's an art form, really, just the way going on and posing and doing everything else. I look at like bodybuilding right now in a kind of a different way, because my daughter was a pageant girl for a long time, and I understand what pageants are as a result of having that. Are you saying that bodybuilding is pageantry?
No,
it is. It is technically pageantry.
I agree too.
Yes, it is technically of a different sort, right?
Okay,
that's actually why I was actually a pretty good pageant dad with my daughter when she got a little bit older, because I took some of the principles of like bodybuilding and I sort of applied them over. It's like the competitiveness.
It maps over.
I'm like eye of the fucking tiger,
really
man.
Well, actually,
because understand that when those girls are like, they're all palling around with you out, off stage and stuff. They're not palling around with you. They're fucking with you. They're like trying to bait you for information and stuff like that, so they can get in your head when you're on stage with them. It's the same thing with guys who are like, when they do a pose down, they're like pushing
yeah, like
out of the way.
Iron, Ferrigno and Arnold.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's like the same concept. But I think there's like, but see, and you know this because there's different categories in most bodybuilding contests. Certainly the O, right? My good friend Alvaro Pena, he's a bodybuilder, but he's not going to compete in the Mr. O. He's in the fitness divisions, right? Where they put on the board shorts and stuff. Like that's how it's the fitness division, because they have board shorts on, right? But
I'm not going to throw any shade, because I'd hate for these guys to come after me.
Well, yeah, I mean,
that's
still,
a whole
they
nother
do
monster.
a lot of if you saw Alvaro, dude, the chicks just fucking fall for him. But I think that, is there any like qualifiable difference between that? All I would say is like, she's still very feminine when you're talking to her, and just her mannerisms. But she's, as for physical,
well, the same could be said for the other too.
Yeah.
I mean, so here's the thing. This is what I'm getting at.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing this process of transitioning over, your voice is going to be deeper.
Yep.
You're going to be growing facial hair. Your meow is going to get bigger. So all these things happen. it's harder for me to reconcile what the difference is absent this self-ID. So now when you think about this, a lot of people have a lot of conflict with this, and they were like, they speak about this as a new thing. And this is what I'm getting to. This transitioning process has been going on for a very long time, but just underneath a different venue. And that's what I'm pointing to.
Well,
it's
like
just
Jones,
now we have an acceptable version that's like, you know, a niche, right? And then we have another niche. It's like, I just think that it would be very contradictory if somebody was against transitioning, and I'm not fighting for this too. And then they're saying, but I like female bodybuilders. Wait, hold on. But do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand that. I definitely understand the sort of conflict there. But it's like E. Jones here is just saying female bodybuilders aren't saying that they are men.
Yeah.
They're female bodybuilders. Do they have the musculature and at least the masculine, you know, testosterone, you know, cues of a guy? Absolutely.
It's
they
all
do.
self-belief,
but
though,
they're
right?
not saying that they are.
Some degree.
Well, how many female bodybuilders are demanding to compete in the male Mr. O?
Oh, you're talking, that's going to happen the month of February.
Yeah. See, so no,
the same thing. Yeah. So it maps across the board the whole way through.
I would God, listen to me here. I would expect that there would be a male bodybuilder who would compete in the female Mr. O before the opposite.
So
happened.
I'm glad you brought that up. This is very interesting. I'm shocked that nobody in the IFBB has tried this. I'm shocked that no guy has tried this. I could be wrong. If, you know, somebody may check me in the comments and say, no, there was a guy that put on a wig. I wouldn't be shocked if this happened, but we do see a form of transitioning happening. And
but
it's very interesting when we look at this.
Like if you look at
a long time, Rachel McClish, Bev Francis.
Bev Francis. Yeah.
I don't know if I can't accuse anybody of taking anything.
Bev Francis.
But I will say though, if you train bigger body parts of muscle, your body's going to be influenced to release more amounts of testosterone because your body has to try to support this and try to hold on to it. So you would think that maybe the voice is going to deepen a skosh, right? Or you may develop some features, androgynous features, you know, things happen, right? But this is all along the lines of just training. Now, when you do put drugs in here because of the performance aspect, okay, now you're bolstering this and influencing this to so much. But it's like, how is this a far cry from you now self-IDing as something?
Yeah.
I almost want to sit down with a pro female bodybuilder and ask her, do you think that when these schmoes worship you, this is a whole different topic, and when they worship you, do you feel like right? Do you feel like they are women? Do you feel like a man on that? But do you see how this self-ID can easily be adopted by these female bodybuilders? So now they can say, well, any relationship they get into, the hierarchical role is screwed up. How traditional is that when she's used to running shit?
I think there are far less. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that there are far less Iris Kyles or Bev Francises right now.
Yes.
And mostly, if you get into female bodybuilding, it's like shape, it's like tone, it's like it's the bikini set or the fitness set. But they're not like overly huge. Honestly, I don't think a lot of women have the genetics to be a Bev Francis or to be a
they don't.
Iris Kyle.
Extremely rare.
And so I think it's becoming even more and more rare. Because most of the time at Powerhouse, there's a lot of different bodies in there. And the women that go in there that are like very tall and they almost universally they're like close to 5'11", 6 foot, and they're just like they're toned and they're ripped, but they don't have the mass of a dude.
This is almost like the Silk Road fitness version of a melting pot in this gym, because you have the convergence of West Coast, and then you have like everybody else that comes in here. I don't even know what the culture of Vegas is, let alone like what our fitness atmosphere looks like.
Bring Iris Kyle in here and ask her about
But if you think, I know there's plenty of people I could probably ask about this. It's such an interesting thing
she's
to talk
totally
about.
cool. She would totally answer that question.
But this is the thing though, is if you were to ask her, and she runs in these circles often, having this business, running into fitness, industry professionals all the time. I mean, she definitely know this answer, but in this convergence where all these roads just meet in Vegas, this entertainment center, right?
Sure. Well, they had
I can imagine
Mr. O and Mrs. O happens here.
Yeah, so, you'd see everything happen here, right? But that's the thing, though. I don't think that you would find like a really stark consistency, but you'd see every flavor, every type, you know, chocolate, vanilla, everything. So it's like, if you want to see what the hodgepodge of fitness looks like, this is the home of the O, right?
For sure.
You'd come here to Vegas and you'd find out really quick. But on the East Coast, Upper Anchorage, all this other shit, you're just going to be like, it's super rare.
One of my,
yeah.
God, because people are going to fucking give me so much shit for this. Because as soon as you say you like something about a dude, oh, you're fake. But Jay Cutler lives here in Vegas.
He's
and
good
like
people.
he has been one. Yeah, he is good people. Every now and then, because he's friends with Hide. And every now and then he'll wander into Powerhouse, and I'm just like hoping I'm going to be there one time, because like I'll fanboy over Jay Cutler, because I've been doing his Max OT for a long time. Yeah. And but you're right. I mean, it's the who's who of bodybuilding in Vegas for sure. Yeah. I mean, where else? I mean, LA maybe. I don't know.
I mean, you literally have headline performers here. Yeah. And then they go home and they do their thing and they go to the gym just like regular people. This is a convergence of entertainment, right? So if you think about bodybuilding, also entertainment. So I think if I was to do a debate with somebody and they were to say, well, is bodybuilding a sport? I'd argue that it's not a sport.
Pageant.
I'm going to have people
come
after me. Is it a
competition?
I don't really care.
Is it a sport?
Pageants are competitions. Yeah. So, I mean, we can have a competition right now, whether or not who has the best tan.
Pose down?
Well, no, you're
you win.
If you want me to take my shirt off, I'm not doing that for you. But as far
I
as
half
like,
expected Alvaro to do that when he was
who
on
has
the
the
show.
best tan, I'd say, of course, but I beat you by ethnicity. So it's like, but at the same time, it's like, what's not competitive?
Right.
You know, and which leads me to my next point. When people ask me, they'll say, well, what are you using?
What's your stack?
And not to mention that, but the most fucking annoying question I get is, how much do you bench? It's like, I don't know how much I bench. People
Whatever
ask me
I put on that night.
Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm not on stage benching. That's not what I'm going to do. We have enough issues right now with people using fake body parts because there's fake ab installations. Like, we're doing all this shit. Like, you barely see like real anymore, because a lot of this is synthetic, to be honest. But I would even go as far as to say it's not synthetic when you do use performance enhancing substances as much as people think. Because if I take a boatload of just androgens, right? Whatever that is, like, let's say some millionaire was like, I'm going to fund your contest the next time. And I took everything, right? But I didn't train and didn't do anything. I'm not giving my body a reason to hold on to this muscle. Therefore, I'm not building or developing anything. Right. You need to be able to put work in to hold on to it. But people think it's just some miracle drugs, like muscle's just going to jump on your body and it's going to automatically happen. No, I had to damn near almost die to qualify to turn pro at nationals. Matter of fact, one of the places where I met Jay was when I won the one of the California shows that I did as an amateur right before I fucking turned pro. So when we think about this, it's like, it's assumed that everything we do is synthetic and make believe and fake. And that's the instant, accusation. You're on steroids. Yeah. But if you got on steroids, you wouldn't be as big as I am or look as great as I do. Yeah. I could be off of everything and get off and still whoop your ass.
I keep seeing, so you're probably aware of this as well, but I see a lot of guys, like I'm now somewhat good friends with a few guys who are like influencers, like bodybuilding influencers, and they're on gear, right? And now who's the other guy who's like the bodybuilder that's not on gear, the natty guy? Forget the dude's name.
Good luck.
No, there is one guy who, and he is, I forget the dude's name, but he's very famous for being built. But
are you talking about Michael Hearn?
No, not Michael Hearn. Michael Hearn.
Michael
Hearn's definitely been on gear.
Michael Hearn is good people.
Yeah,
I was on his team.
It's the other guy who gives the other bodybuilder shit. I can't remember his name at this stage. Anyways, doesn't matter. But I've been talking to Dr. Todd Lee, MD. Actually, is a doctor, knows his shit.
Now you're talking about people who can really talk about steroids.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. Is what I was going to tell you is like there's more and more people who are more and more comfortable with talking about like taking gear, and it's never been more available. It's never been easier to get it. And then I'm on TRT. I've been on TRT for about 18 months now, and I wish I would have started earlier, quite honestly, because it makes effort feel good, and everything that Mike Sartain told me about it was 100% true. Yeah. And then moving to Vegas was the best thing I could have ever done for like lifting, because they're between like right around like
culture,
the end of 2023 to throughout 2024, all I did, like money, muscles, and game, I focused on muscles. And so I was going to Powerhouse Gym. I was working out with Hide Yamagishi and Alvaro Pena. And it was good to be around. It's good to be around those people, and it's good to be in that environment because everybody in that place knows my name. I go in there, I work out because I go at a time when nobody's there, but I go in there and I know everybody on a first name basis. And if I'm doing something wrong, they'll stop me and they'll go, because I've been doing this shit for forever and I don't know what like my form is, you know, because I'm not really even questioning it. I just know what works for me. I had Hide hit me up and say, "You're doing shrugs wrong." And I'm like, "I am? Please show me how to do shrugs." Right?
He called you on your shit.
Yes, he called me on shrugs, right? And I was like, "Yeah, please. Well, you're going to hurt yourself if you keep doing that." I was like, "Okay, well, I don't want to hurt myself."
Yeah, that guy's.
But he'll stop you right, like right dead in your tracks, or like we're doing back, and he'll go and do a full back workout with me just so I know that I'm doing proper form, right? Yeah. Because when you start doing the same routine over and over and over again, you get sloppy. You know, you kind of like you get into this routine and you think you're doing the right thing.
Well, you got complacency going on.
Yeah, or have you tried it this way or try something new kind of thing. And so just the fact that I'm on TRT, I'm doing this, I'm on some peptides as well, and I'm working out and I'm doing it as consistently as I ever have. I mean, some days I'm doing like 5 and 6 days, right? And they tell you not to do that, of course, but like I want to be there. I want to be there, right?
Yeah.
And my cardio is with my dog, running with my greyhounds. So I was like this year and then last year, I think I've probably been in the best shape of my life. And the reason why I did that was because this is what I do now. I live in Vegas. I do Access Vegas. I got to be, I'm a personality. I'm Rollo Tomasi. I can't be a fat buck and do all the stuff that I do. Right. So going and doing that. But of course, what happens is once you start doing that, people go, "Oh, he's on gear. Oh, there's something wrong with him. Oh, what he's losing. He's that's water bloat."
The people that don't do shit are going to accuse you of doing shit. And meaning they don't even put the work in.
We were talking before. It's like, you know, if I was completely natural and I gave you all the gear in the world and you didn't do anything but just inject all day long, and I worked out, I'm gonna 6 months, 8 months later, I'm gonna be in better shape than you because I'm the one that's actually consistently going.
My acne is gonna be bigger than your muscles.
Yeah,
that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, like muscles just don't jump on your body. You still have to go and work out, and you have to do it consistently. And so I think money
doesn't buy muscles.
People don't like, especially when it comes to guys, they don't like a cheat code. They always want you got to go and put in the work, right? And if you do anything that in any way enhancing the work, right? Why would you not want to enhance the work? Like when I look at like what Dr. Todd Lee, he's very open about it. He'll say, "Yeah, I'm on Masterone. I'm doing T-Pro. I'm doing HGH, and this is my stack and whatever, and this is how you should do it." And he's a medical doctor saying this. I've tested it. I know all this shit.
Can I ask you a question? Does he ever? And I already know the answer to this. Does he ever mention Tren?
He hates Tren. He hates
it. Yeah, Tren is the worst shit. You don't ever want to touch it.
He's all about Masterone.
Yeah, you're talking about something corrosive. It breaks the blood-brain barrier. It's really bad. And you're talking about early onset Alzheimer's. Yeah. By the way, it's good for me to put this out there because I think people should know this. Not enough people know about this. If you are going to, and this isn't an endorsement or promotion for this, don't ever fucking touch Tren. I don't care even if you're a professional. I'll not condone this. Don't touch it. It's like the bane of Satan. Like it's the worst shit of like it's the wife beater drug. It's been nicknamed all this other shit. You don't want to try it. It's just bad shit. Go the long route. Don't take the cheat code.
What's the joke? The joke
cheat code.
The joke is like if you're not beating your wife, you're not taking enough Tren.
This is bad shit. But you bring up a really valid point. Guys are often shamed and ridiculed for beauty standards, right? If we're taking steroids, if we're breaking our legs to increase inches, right? If we're putting in lifts in our shoes, even if we're taking beauty products, we're called metrosexual. And automatically when you think metrosexual, it sounds like homosexual. So they're equated with this whole thing. But if you look on the female side, BBLs don't get condoned as much, plastic surgery, filler breasts. So here's the thing I would say. If you took away all the beauty standards and stripped them from women, would you really have women saying that they're 10s now in societies? Or would you think that this would change to where 80% of men are not ugly to women anymore? Because if you woke up and there was no longer cosmetics, makeup, or anything else, and everybody had a firm, fair, and consistent, non-changing standard, what would our current modern beauty standards look like? Would guys be shamed?
They would still, because I think they would still be I think men would still be shamed.
See a reduction.
Because I'll tell you why. Because we we tend to look at men based on their achievements and their burden of performance, right? And so if
Correct.
I'm on gear and I'm lifting, and if the people go, oh well, yeah, he's only looks that way because he's on gear, right? Or if they look at Justin Waller's like 6'2", 6'3", or something like that. Well, yeah, he's only hot because he's 6'3", like as if he's cheating. I'm like, how the fuck is he cheating? He's 6'3". He can't help how tall he is. But there's this but attached to everything, right? Well, if I had his money, then like his money is helping him cheat, right? Or for instance, like if you go and you get a hair transplant, right? Hair transplant. You go to Turkey and you get a hair transplant surgery or something like that. That's cheating. I'm like, well, what if I wear like contact lenses? These aren't my real eyes. My real eyes aren't 20/20. They're fucked up, and I put on contact lenses. Is that cheating?
You know what's funny?
No.
In bodybuilding, I've been a kid. I guess I got into a debate recently. This guy was like, well, you're cheating. You're definitely cheating because you're using steroids. Wait, hold on. Is it breaking the rules? Cheating would denote that I'm breaking a rule or a subset of found understanding that people have. They've acknowledged, like, we're not going to do this. We're all going to be on one accord. You're not going to do, we're going to level the playing field because everybody's going to have been no, that's not cheating. If everybody does whatever they want to do, it's like for Formula One racing. We're lightening all these vehicles. We're lightening all the wheels. We're going to go ahead and pick the lightest parts and we're going to go as fast as fucking possible. Right. Mm. Well, we're kind of like looking at death a certain way too.
Yeah.
So I could see why people are demonizing certain things, and there's a few bits of meat to pick at. Mm-hmm. The problem with this is if you look at the woman's side, it's not demonized. It's not called cheating. It doesn't ever happen. I just think this is very odd in society. With men, when we do something, height, you can't change. Money, that takes a lot of work. Muscle takes a lot of work, and money. This is why when you talked about money, muscles, and game, you can't have a lot of muscle if you don't have money to support said muscle to keep it on. And then you can't have game because that's a lot of suffering. It's like all these things skills, mesh together. Yes, social skills. So if you're the guy that sticks out because you're the 1%er IFBB pro bodybuilder and you're at a party, you're going to be the curiosity there, right? Yeah. So when people also condemn people and they say, well, women don't like a lot of guys with muscle. Doesn't happen. I've heard this numerous times. That sounds cool, but let me go to a beach.
They didn't seem to have any problem with Alvaro when he came on Access Vegas that one time.
It sounds cool when you say this in some lobby and nobody's fucking paying attention to you. But if I go to the beach and I take my shirt off and the fat guy's next to me goes, ugh, I need to work out. But he's not going to tell you that shit. Right. He's feeling some kind of shame next to him, but I'm influencing in a good way, but they'll shame this. So society's very odd in this spectrum, especially in the dating market too.
I was going to say dating market because that's really what it all tracks back to. It tracks back to intra-sexual competition. Yeah. So it's like trying to disqualify. If you can disqualify your opponent,
good luck.
Then that theoretically, logically, that's supposed to put you on an even playing field. Well, you take away his gear and he would be just like me. No, he wouldn't, because he has a different work ethic and he's out there busting his ass, right? So even if you did, he would still look better than you. Oh, well, he's a genetic celebrity because he's 6 foot tall. Well, all you're doing is just like, so what do you want him to do? Chop off parts of his legs and so he can come down to be at your level and then you're on an even playing field? No, you need to don't wish it was easier, wish you were better, right? And so a lot of the stuff that I see when these guys they'll come at me, right? Because I'm like 57 years old and they'll be like, well, imagine being his age and playing in a band and doing Access Vegas and being, being jacked and juicy and tan as fuck and living in Las Vegas. And I was like, imagine that. I wouldn't want to be like, what is he, 14? And I'm like, yeah, imagine that, because that's all you're ever going to be able to do is fucking imagine it. Like, remember that quote from Arnold? He's like, when I forget who was saying, like, it was in the 70s or something. There's a bunch of people saying, well, we wouldn't want to look like you. And he's like, don't worry, you never will.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Well, that was his famous quote was, the worst thing I can be is the same as everybody else. Right. And that when you stand out
that's
like
a
that,
gut hitter.
That's like
that's going to hit you in your fucking gut.
The way I dress is not how a quote unquote 57-year-old is supposed to dress. Right. And I'm like, okay, you tell me, what do you think I should wear? What should I wear? What should I wear what does a 57-year-old man wear? loafers and Dockers and a nice good button down and everything like this, and I'm bouncing my grandchildren on my knee, spinning a yarn. Like, what do you want me to fucking do?
You know, it's
man?
funny when you turn the
Is that what a
argument
57
on them.
was?
It's a lot of people who have that. I find in the debate world that they really have no argument. They have no foundation of what truth is to them. When you ask them, you turn the tables on them and you say, well, what if we all just look the same? Do you think the world would be more entertaining or boring?
Yeah. If we all look like you, would then you feel better about yourself? Because I'm not here to make you feel I'm here to make you feel worse about yourself.
Right.
So you will fucking get off your ass and get and progress and grow.
Well,
and do
that's
something
also
else.
why the person shows up 6th place, because he's going to make you look fucking amazing on stage. Like,
And
we need these people in society.
You know, I
hate to tell you
the
this.
thing
is
that
true.
gets me is this is like I hear this all the time, and it just goes up my fucking neck every time I hear this. But some guys like, don't compare yourself to other guys. Compare yourself to who you were before.
Yeah.
Fuck
good
you.
luck.
No way. We don't do that naturally.
I compare
anyways.
myself to last year.
When I
What the
go
fuck are you
into
talking about?
you know why I go to Powerhouse? Because I feel small in there. If I go to my wife's gym, if I go to the one that's in our community and stuff, I am the biggest dude in that fucking gym. But if I walk into Powerhouse, I'm like one of the smallest dudes in there. You know?
I like this angle of the conversation. The reason why I like this is because I could bring up numerous fucking examples. One case in point, you could go back to a debate where I had on Sarah Tomato's channel where it's me and Andrew Wilson debating. I look like I'm a damn mute next to him. And the reason why is because he's so dominant, and so during the whole debate afterwards, I compared him to Michael Jordan, a debate, right? I dare anybody to refute any of this. Good luck. So, but when I said this, it's hard to get into words edgewise with him because he's so dominant, so good at his craft at what he does. I go back home, I look at this as homework. I need to get my shit together. I have so much fucking work to do. Whereas I thought I was good. Oh shit, this guy's recall is superhuman. This guy's such and such. He's been in this playing field so long that it's like, I look like a mute next to him. This can't happen again. So it's like, we need to be around people who motivate us to overcome our own obstacles, which can be us to be better. But if you have people constantly around you and you hang around these circles because they want to even the playing field, no, they're just dumbing you down to.
That's just thinking like a chick is what that is.
Yes, that's really what it is.
Egalitarian, and everybody deserves
That's what that is.
See,
Yes.
there's two different definitions of respect. If you go and you look in the dictionary, there's what I call the male version, and then there's sorry, bird hands. There's a male version, and
Homat is going to come after you.
There's the female version. I know. I'm catching my. God damn you, fucking Homat. Anyways, there's the male version and there's a female version. The male version is what I just told you. We are comparing ourselves. We do this. Men do this naturally. What is it that makes you respectable? Why should I respect you? Well, you're an IFBB pro. You got your pro card. That's respect. Fuck, respect on that all day long. And there's other things that you could probably have done that I don't know anything about that are definitely respectable. Why do you respect me? Well, I don't know, 5 best Amazon bestsellers or something like that. Maybe we can start there. Lots of different things, your achievements, your burden of performance, how well you've sort of like lived up to your potential. Those kinds of things help you kind of like grow a hierarchy. And that's the way men think. And that's how we organize society, is in hierarchies.
Yeah.
Women, on the other hand, are much more communitarian. They're much more like, that's why socialism seems like a good idea to them. They're egalitarian.
They like glue.
And so that's why when they say everybody deserves respect, you get some and you get some and you get some, and everybody's deserving of respect, like regardless of whatever they've done, which is bullshit. But wouldn't it be nice if we could all just respect each other, just have this default, common courtesy for everyone else?
True.
That's the second definition. That both of these are in the dictionary. And so when I bring this up and I say men and women have differing concepts of respect, whenever you say don't compare yourself to other people, compare yourself to who you were before, that's the female version of respect.
Yeah.
The male version is, this guy is better than me and I want to look like that.
Well,
I want to be
fighting.
better because this is my goal to achieve.
I'm constantly fighting.
When I went in, I started working out with Hide Yamagishi. He started saying like, okay, what are your fitness goals? Like if you're working with a personal trainer, that's the first thing they're going to ask you. What are your goals? I looked over at Alvaro and I go, I want to look like that. That was my fitness goal.
What did he tell you when you said that?
No, he said, okay. He was just like, he's
a better man than me.
He wanted to have a clear like vision of like, like they want you to compete, right? Like, are you going to compete?
I would have told you good luck.
Like,
I would have told anybody else good luck.
Yeah.
But the reason why is because I think that we challenge each other and we can't get around this as men. Let's say that I stripped away this IPB Pro card and you stripped away your bestseller books and we were basically at some rudimentary zero, right? I have to shake your hand. I'm going to size you up by this fish handshake that you gave me.
Yeah.
So since the dawn of time, we've been doing this as men. You can't get around this, even from the fundamental greeting standpoint. There's no way to get around this as men. I don't think women have the same constructs. Even if you said, hey, let's play as little girls, they're going to play house, hopscotch, where there's no winner, things like this. Everything's neutral.
That's why you get the
we're playing King of the Hill
participation trophy stuff. Yeah.
I'm beating your ass at the park. We're going to shake hands afterwards, like things like this.
Race you to the end of the playground.
Yeah, we can't get around. Like, this is what men do. And this is why I think it's good to kind of roast your friends. We do this all the time. Women, I don't see this. Right. They do it behind their back.
Like when guys roast each other, they're like, yeah, he's pretty cool. And then when women do it, like, she's such a bitch. You know?
Yeah, when she left the room, when the other woman left the room,
they're all
they're
nice and not nice to her and everything. She leaves the room and now she's a bitch.
But this is also, I'll say this is why I'll never talk shit even about my enemies to a woman that I'm with. Why am I drawing this attention to this other guy? He must be so important that I'm going to have her focal point on him. Guys don't realize this, but you're doing the exact opposite when you're like, oh, Bob, he's such a shitty guy. I fucking hate Bob. Who's she now thinking of now?
Bob. Yes, that's exactly what Mike Sartain says. Zig, if you ever want to lose a chick, start talking shit about guys she's been with.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why, I mean, we're competitive at nature, but I'd rather beat the shit out of you than talk shit about you any day when it comes to it. And I'm talking about like practical means like bodybuilding. So I got into bodybuilding, things like this. So I wanted to do something that was impossible, that takes a lot of suffering to do, a lot of self-sacrifice, something that somebody can't just say, well, you were just handed this, right? That's why the whole steroid allegation thing is big and they could just say this. But at the end of the day, let's be honest, they're like, fuck, that what is that? There's some mystery there because they know it's not just fucking steroids. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of all this. So it's like they'll say the same thing with some hot chick. Oh, is it the money? They don't even fucking know what it is.
Yeah.
So we're around a lot of lost people that don't know game, money, muscles, or any of this stuff. There's a disconnect that happens here. But I think a lot of women introduce this into the dating marketplace when they say, I'm going to be a female dating coach. Yeah. I'm going to teach you how to get men, when it's like, that's the most failed market out there. I see this all the time. And then you have ex-MRA women that get on here and it's equivalent to the same thing. Women will say, well, I used to be an MRA, used to be, or your current MRA. I have a lot of distrust in that because you can't admit somebody as a dating coach. That doesn't make any sense when a single mom can't relate to her son and say, well, I'm going to be just as good as a dad telling my son how to date. Well, what's your world experience of approaching people and interviewing people or using a pickup line or, oh, you don't do this because you're a woman.
Yeah, or trying to form some sort of rapport between,
women don't do, that's not their experience. So how can you teach a son to do this? But it's the same thing when I look at women in our spaces. When I say our spaces, it's being invaded constantly. On social media, I look at it as a matriarchy to some degree. It's almost like I'm on their turf, but I have to wreck shop because what happens is if I spit some truth out there, it's the most inflammatory shit any woman says. They'll hear this and say, how dare you tell me that the sky is blue? Oh, how dare me see this shit? It's fucking stupid.
I was just, and I meant to, I will probably bring this up on my next show, but I haven't told you this yet either, Kyle. Was it yesterday? Yeah, just yesterday. I had this chick and I forget her name, but she was a journalist of some sorts in Australia. Yeah. And I think it was the name of the blog or whatever it is the communique or the connection or some shit like that. I forget what it is. She sends me this link and says, you're quoted in this article. It's her fucking article. Like she slid into my DMs to tell me that I was, and it's just this hatchet job of the manosphere and, oh, Andrew Tate this and everything else. And I'm like, and I think she was expecting me to like come at her and like frothing at the mouth. And
sounds like self-aggrandizing activity.
And I'm like, no, I'm not going to take that tack. I'm going to say, like, why did you do this? Like, why didn't you just simply just call me up? Like, I am you're going to say, oh, he was the so-called godfather of the manosphere. Okay. If you already know that, why don't you just like hit me up for a quote? Why don't you hit me up for like, if you're really into this sort of objective, unbiased, untainted journalism, why not just simply call me up? I'm the most approachable guy in the
I mean, that's a far
manosphere.
stretch. She's the Inquirer, and she's making
Well,
out to
I
be
know,
bad
I know.
boy.
Well, now of course, I'm
This is what's happening.
asking this from a very rational, very measured way of doing it. I'm not frothing at the mouth or anything like that. And I told her, I said, look, I said, you're basically taking me out of context in this quote that you have here because you think that it sounds egregious and you think that it sounds because of the way that it was the pull quote that she puts in there. And I know where it was from. It was from one of my Iron Rules of Tomasi, right? It was from number 6, which is like, women can't love you the way that women can't love men the way that men believe that women can love them, right? And so I'm like, if you would have taken that and you put that in there as sort of the prefix to this, then it's a different conversation. I said, no, I was analyzing her. I said, you pulled that quote because it makes it sound like I'm some fucking madman or I'm some misogynist. And then I read through the rest of the article, and the one word that is used over and over and over in the article is the word complaint, complaining. And it's funny that she brought this up because I've just been kind of like noodling around with an idea for a Substack post. Men cannot give anyone an objective, observational, most measured, most neutral statement of fact without it sounding like it's a complaint. If it's about female nature, right? If you say it seems to me that women are like this. I have observed women doing this, and just as being as neutral and as objective as possible.
Yeah.
If a man has anything to say about female nature in the most measured way, it's always a complaint. And I'm like, why is that? And the reason is because men aren't allowed to have any of those observations.
Well, we can't be fet sitters.
Yeah.
Also, so which brings me to another point. I had brought something up as a thought experiment, and I think I talked to you about this, the blind pill, yesterday.
Yeah, okay.
It's not satire.
Okay,
it's
so
the first time.
Let's give the backstory. What is the blind pill?
So the blind pill is not satire. I'm going to preface this. It's not satire at all. The blind pill is literally blind women.
Mm-hmm. Literally like no
blind.
Sightless women. Okay,
sightless
got it.
women,
Okay,
we're talking about the actual disability.
Okay.
The reason why I brought this up is because one day I was thinking, and I said, well, these women are always attacking men for our preferences, right? Mm. What if you give them a rational reason for why? This goes along the lines of what you were espousing, right? With saying if we find the most measured response, we have to pick a side. Like they're going to force us socially by their end, or they're going to try to convince the world this. So what I did was I brought up this thought experiment called the blind pill. And I said, well, what if I open up a new dating market? And I was in spaces. I was it was probably like 12 people, 10 people. And I brought this up and there's women in there. And I wanted these women to listen to this. I said, let's say that I open up this dating market, which I've never thought about till now. Blind women. Well, who's probably not going to be on OnlyFans sites? Blind women. Well, we're not going to get endorphin hits because we're getting likes. They can't even see the fucking likes. Mm-hmm. So then if you think about this, it's like, you're running out of the house with your woman who's blind. She's not going to be like, oh, I got to wear this because I care about what the world thinks. She doesn't care about any of this stuff, right? She just, as long as she's got clothes, things like this. So you're talking about a subset of individuals that you would think would be least material and not caught up in propagandized culture that a lot of women do nowadays. So when you think about this, are all blind women ugly? No, there's some beautiful ones. I went on this, I forgot what site it was, but I went at Curiosity, right? Beautiful women, really beautiful women. And when they look at men, they want to be as close to functioning in the real world as possible. Like everybody else, they want to be a part of society. Mm-hmm. Well, as soon as I brought this up, because they were like, well, you're not the tallest person in the world, she's going to be the least caring about the height. Yeah. So if you think about this, I'm getting demonized now by these women because now it has to be a heinous reason why I'm looking for these women. Mm-hmm. So now I'm being demonized for my preferences. Yeah. I can't have boundaries. And then also, how is it not more virtuous for me to seek these women out, or not seek them out specifically, for me to open up my dating pool to these people? Mm-hmm. Because not to mention that, but also this is a part of like me being added onto whatever suffering they have too. Mm-hmm. Not only is it virtuous too, they can say, well, hold on. They push back and they said, well, these women could cheat on you too, and they could lie to you and stab you in the back. Just like, but hold on. These women are already ostracized enough from the world. They're not incentivized to push people away who can be their caretakers, people like this. They would look at you as the person that slays the dragon, saves the queen from the castle. They're not incentivized to do this. And they try to spin this on me and say, well, hold on, you could be the scoundrel, cheater person. Well, if we think about heroes like Daredevil, their senses went up. So if you think about this, she's probably going to smell some other woman's cologne on you from 10 miles away. I'm hyperbole here. She's probably going to know from voice inflection, tonality, if you lied to her. So we can then, vet out. It's like a self-filtration system. She's going to vet out the liars, cheaters, and everybody else because things aren't consistent. You move something in the house, she stubs her foot. Why did you move this? Things like this can happen, but she's going to look at life like this as your dating habits with her like this. So now that I presented this blind pill to you, guess what happened with the women? Demonized. I can't ever pick my own preferences. I can't have my best. Even then, even when I'm picking the most virtuous route as a guy that's loyal, faithful, hardworking, genuine, still demonized because there has to be something nefarious. You still can't get around this. So even as a thought experiment, when I brought this up, demonized. So what this did is it exposed what modern dating looks like, maybe through the guise of 7 women that were in this room. And I saw a glimpse of this and I'm like, this is what men have to deal with. Because even if I'm an IFBB pro in the 1%, I turned pro in 2 world-class sports, by the way. And I make over a certain amount of money. I do well. I'm very social. I'm in different circles. So you could say I have some social status. I'm somewhat of a public figure. Even then, that gets demonized. So there's no way, even when you pick the most virtuous route, right? They're going to stab.
Win.
They're going to stab these women who are disenfranchised even worse. Just think about the ramifications of this. You can't even pick a class of individuals who are invisible to regular society. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say is a lot of that goes back to what I call the sisterhood uber alles. Okay. It's women, regardless of religion, regardless of politics, of race, of, anything else, women are women first. And so when you're talking about dating a blind woman, they want to close ranks and say, how dare you? How dare you? First of all, how dare you have any stand? I've written so much about how men aren't allowed to have standards.
How dare you have boundaries?
How dare you have preferences? How dare you have standards? How dare you have boundaries? Right. And I've thought long and hard about this. I'm like, why the fuck is that? And the reason is because it is what I call the existential fear of women. And what the existential fear is that they would get with a guy who they thought was alpha, or God forbid, they get impregnated by a guy and carry the child of a guy who they thought was alpha or thought was one way. And then later on, tricked you, gotcha, bitch. And he turns into a beta or he turns into an abuser or whatever. And you will hear women to this day, like right now, I remember when I think
birth control is doing that, by the way.
If a woman says, hey, I'm devoted to my husband, I love him implicitly. I don't have to work. I'm a stay-at-home mom. He takes care of everything for me. Every woman that's on social media will go, you got to get your bag, girl. You got to get a job. You got to make sure you got them because you don't know when he's going to be a cheater. You don't know if he's fucking he's looking for a trophy wife. You don't know if he's fucking his secretary.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I'm like, why would that enter your head? And I'm like, it's because that guy might not be who he presents himself to be. He's a counterfeit, right? He's a Confederate, right? He's a guy who could be something else, or he becomes
the red coats
something
are
else.
coming.
And so what it is that's so even when because I've had this conversation before with women who are they'll be in their 30s and they'll have gone through they've done everything that everybody told them that a woman should do. You've got to go to college. You've got to get your bag. You got to start your business. You got to have that. You got to basically you're following a male life track is what you're doing.
Yeah.
And the reason why they're told to do that is because you can't trust men. Men are inherently untrustworthy. And either it's Homer Simpson or you got a borderline abuser or you got Mr. Incompetent who is Gen Z, right? They can't drive a stick and they can't change a tire and they can't tie a tie or whatever. It's they're completely incompetent. Yeah. So if those are the 3 archetypes that women have to choose from, by order of degree, if those are the archetypes, it makes sense for women to go and ensure their own long-term security, because you can't trust a man to do those things. And even in the most ideal situation where you've got a pretty well-off, affluent, rich man who is, still loves you,
Still.
and still, even in the best of circumstances, the best case scenario, you still got to get your bag, girl.
And that's
he could
funny.
still change on you. There might be
Yes.
something wrong with him. He might be, he might be brain damaged or some shit like that. And you got to have a backup plan, because if you don't, you'll be off on your own and you'll have kids and babies and you'll be out on your own. And what they're basically describing is what I call the existential fear of women. Is you had sex and you had babies with this guy, you entrusted this guy, and then he essentially raped you. He essentially took away your choice of your hypergamous choice by tricking you. That's why women rely. That's why women rely on each other. That's why women rely on social proof and pre-selection, because they can't be their own feminine intuition is not 100% reliable. So they got to go to the collective of women and say, what do you think about Martae? What do you think? Mom, what do you think? Sis, what do you think? Niece, what do you think? You're not just dating one woman, you're dating all of her female friends and all of her female family members as well. And they have to be approving of you. Her girlfriends have to approve of you.
It's so
and
dumb.
even then, you're still not trusted. You still got to get your bag.
I have to marry your family before I bet
Yes.
anybody or wed anybody. At the same time, what is this? It's a phone. Who built the phone? Who maintains this phone? Everything else. But we can say that, no, we can't depend on men, because what'll happen? Meanwhile, the whole time, your whole existence, you're depending. This chair I'm sitting in, this microphone, a man had to intercede with your mom to create you.
Yes. A man had to build those chairs. We know. Yeah, this guy.
So it's crazy because so you can't get around this construct of red flags. Everything's a red flag. So if I think about this, the fact that I'm associated with Orthodox Christianity is a red flag. The fact that I'm IFBB pro bodybuilder is a red flag. And we can dive into this too. The fact that I do look at red pill prescriptors he's on testosterone, he's cheating. But descriptors is a red flag. So if you think about this, the reason why these are red flags, and people can wonder why Christianity or looking at red pill descriptors as a red flag or anything else, is because a lot of women will look at this and they'll see me eating chicken and rice and greens. I can't eat the cake if I date him. Right. I can't go to like the male strip club because he's a Christian. I can't. So I am the biggest, and I will say this, it's quite opposite from what people think. They'll say, well, a red flag is this bad boy. No, that's your green flag. Like, that's what you consider. Everything just think about backwards. If you think about bizarre world and things are backwards, that's why when I look at women, it's almost like they're speaking out of both, sides of their mouth. And I halfway listen to people who are MRAs, who are women, people who are trad wives online, even though you're tonguing down a cake. There's a certain ex-sex worker that does that, and she has her own ministry, things that I don't do.
I just brought that up on like 2 shows ago.
And that's the thing, though, is we see through all this. We see the double speak the whole time. You can tell us what's a green and red flag. All we see is like black and white, to be honest, because it all looks like the same shit. I will never look at a woman, and I'm not making a monolith, and I'm not saying all women, but when women come at me and they say, well, no, this is what you should do, I automatically tune out.
Yeah.
Because, single moms aren't doing this. They look at the outcomes. If these women in mass aren't doing this and you're preaching for a matriarchal structure, I don't see evidence of the success anywhere else being played out. So don't see it. I'm a red flag. I'll inherently say this. I am a red flag.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why everything is a complaint, and men aren't allowed to have standards. Men aren't allowed to have boundaries. Men aren't allowed to have preferences or anything like that. The reason for that is because, like, by inch or by mile, what happens is it is a limitation on their ability to be in 100% control of their hypergamy.
You know what they'll say? They'll say, you're intimidated. No, it's limitation.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing is you're setting a standard that I don't set for myself. That's consistent. That's grounded in truth, in fact, in reality. You don't subscribe to that, but you're going to subscribe this and project it onto me.
Well, I mean, think about like when it comes to women being, let's just say, raped, right? When it comes to women being assaulted, when it comes to the reason why those are such egregious, like invasive, sins for women. Now, the reason why that's like at the top of the list for women is because essentially what it is it's by force or by violence, a man taking away a woman's reproductive choices is what it is. And so now if that's the worst, what's the least? Talking about your preferences, talking about how your selection process,
you know what's funny?
Preempts hers.
I don't see a middle ground. You ever notice that?
Yeah.
There is no middle. It doesn't exist.
That's why it's
you're either the person that genocided a whole community or created this, right? Or you're like a saint. There is no gray area.
Well, for instance, like when I'm all about is trying to stay as objective and as measured and like that. Like people always say, well, the red pill's an ideology. No, it's a praxeology, and explaining that is like really difficult to a lot of people. But when I do try to explain that, especially when I'm explaining it to a woman, the thing is like even if you're making as objective an observation as possible, it's like I said, it's always a complaint. It's always you're just those red pill guys just complain. They think that they're owed sex, right? Notice what they say, owed sex. Because there's nothing that is more, because that's essentially what that is.
It's adjacent to grape culture.
It's a guy through logic,
right,
trying to convince this girl that she should sleep with him, have his baby. Because look at me, I'm the perfect guy. You keep going out with assholes. You keep going out with jerks. You keep going out with dark triad
They're
guys.
selling the villain.
You keep going out with the Tinder swindler.
Yeah.
When I've listened to you, I've taken the notes. I have the Excel spreadsheets. I have catered my entire life so that I can identify with women, so that I can be more like them, so I can be more accommodating, so I can be a good father. I'll read to my kids. I'll take them to baseball practice. I'll do all this stuff. I'm the perfect guy. And yet you still go out with this guy. And you know why they keep doing that? Because you're on some level of consciousness. What you're trying to do is to convince them to relinquish that choice of sexuality. That's why I say no guy has ever reasoned a woman into bed. It's always an emotional choice. That sex is always emotion. It's not about reason. It's not about like explaining it to her on an Excel spreadsheet. It's about like vibing, right? It's about this emotional, it's this connection of energy or whatever. They can't put a name on it because it sounds like magic.
I hate that word.
But really what it is, is like if you're trying to convince a girl to have sex with you, just the act of, you're a sex pest, right? Just the act of trying to convince her means she wants to punch you in the face. She's like, okay, why is he telling me this? Because he wants to have sex with me and he wants to reproduce with me. And in doing so, and by convincing me, he is taking away my choice, my reproductive choice. Oh, he sounds like he's the perfect guy, but I really want to fuck Chad over here because he's fun. He's exciting. I know he's not the best for me. Maybe I can lock him down. Maybe I can't. He's a drug dealer. He's a gang member. Doesn't matter because he gets me off and he doesn't. You know what he doesn't try to do? Convince me to have sex with him because she already wants to have sex with that guy. And she doesn't want to have sex with the guy who like logically, reasonably, rationally would be a good choice for her to get with. But she won't do that because he's explaining the game instead of playing the game. And in explaining it, you may as well be a rapist.
It's funny because you'll have two different distinct sides. The two people can't sell each other. But the best way that I've ever quote unquote sold anybody is by pushing people away, to be honest. I've literally said, no, you're not going to have my time. Like, I don't have any time. Sorry, I'm too busy. Next thing you know, green flags all day.
Yeah.
Green flags are flying everywhere. But the moment I say, hey, listen, I'm HR. I just happen to be in the friend zone. I'm the walking HR corporate from your friend zone area. I'm the best candidate, right? Turned off. Red flag, all this, even though you may be the best option, it doesn't fucking matter because you're trying to sell her this. You're trying to sell the Honda Civic and tell her it's bad. No, because I'd rather a woman believe that it was on her terms because I pushed her away and she has to overcome some obstacle, all this. And then me, you know what? Because I'm benevolent, I'll just allow this. I guess you can hang on these coattails. Like better chance of doing this. It's funny because it's so backwards. But I mean, I see this often in society. This is why I don't try to sell women. I don't try to say I'm this IFBB pro bodybuilder. I do all this others. I don't have to do this. Do I have to tell somebody a bodybuilder, or can they just kind of tell this?
Figure it out. Yeah, rich guy. A king doesn't have to tell you he's a king.
Exactly.
You figure it out on your own.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what's wrong with the manosphere?
The manosphere.
Yeah. I know you wanted to go jump into the manosphere. I know you wanted to jump into the red pill stuff.
There's a lot of this.
The Andrew Wilson stuff.
Like, there's a lot.
Where do we want to go?
Andrew Wilson is. I wouldn't put him in any sphere. Mm-hmm. I would not put this man in a box. If we talk about family, I don't have a blood family I'm close to. Mm-hmm. So whenever I talk about him, it's like me talking about my blood brother. So one of the things that I'll look at is like, do you ever put family in a box often? Right? We don't talk about it in these spheres or anything else like that. Hence, it doesn't exist. So when I think about spheres or whatever he's adjacent to, I just think family. So whatever else people are talking about, they tend to put him in the red pill sphere. They tend to say, well, he's red pill and he doesn't subscribe to any of this stuff. He'll look at the red pill as like, oh, that's a data packet of like maybe warning signs and cautionary tales and things like this. Well, that's common sense and logic. But then if you look at the red pill, it's fractioned off, almost like there's a schism, right? So red pill schism happens somewhere. I'm not like saying that this is an equation to like theology, but a schism must have happened.
I think
it's going to happen. You're going to have different factions.
I think yeah, exactly. And I think the practices like nobody makes this distinction. The practices have to be distinct and separate from the red pill itself. That's why I keep saying that the red pill is a praxeology. Yeah. What you do with that praxeology, it's basically data. What are you going to do with that data? Oh, Rollo's saying we ought to go fuck anything on two legs. I'm not saying anything whatsoever. I'm just saying that it seems to me that it would be a good idea to date not exclusively. How you choose to do that is really up to the individual. Yeah. But like what happens is then you've got MGTOW, then you've got MRAs, then you've got the white pill, then you've got tradcons, then you've got this, then you've got whatever Andrew is, right? Then you've got and you're right, there's a schism, there's like atomization of the practices, but they're all the source material is still the praxeology of the red pill. And that's why I keep trying to say it's not an ideology. All it is data. What you do with that, you can, like I said, it's like fire. You can burn your house down with it.
I was just going to say something like that.
You can cook your food with it. You can warm yourself with it, or you can set your friend on fire. You can set yourself on fire and set your neighborhood on fire. Fire's not good or evil. It just is what it is. It's how it's used. And so what happens is guys in the black pill go, oh, it's all over. We're fucked. My face is not perfect. My nose is too big.
You're going to have radicals.
I'm a chin cell. Yeah.
If you look at a religion, you're going to have radicals, people that take things to the extreme hyperbole. Well, I would have actually used water because water could be steam, vapor, water, ice. So we think about this. It's like, well, the red pill can be this. It can be perceived as this. You could drown somebody in this. You can give life. Somebody gets a water bottle in the desert. They have more life. So if we think about this, it's not, I don't look at the red pill as something that's evil, right? I don't look at this as exactly evil. It just depends on what you do with this information, right? With this data. If I give you some data and they give you a code somewhere, okay, what are you going to do with this code? Are you going to crack a safe? Are you going to keep it to yourself and die with this password? It just depends on what you do with this.
What I've said before is like, you can't give people facts or objective observations, or you can't give them data and stats and stuff like that without telling them how to feel about it, especially in the social media
That's crazy.
Age. Because if you don't, they will hate you for it. And if they don't hate you for it, they'll infer what they think you meant. Because, what's he trying to convince me of? If they agree with you, then you're like the new Messiah. If they disagree with you, if it rubs them the wrong way, or there's just something that doesn't sit right, then they'll think you're trying to sell them something and you're a charlatan after that.
Well, logic can't.
But they'll figure something out. Like, you can't just give them numbers and code and ones and zeros. You can't just give them just data without saying, here's what you should do with this data, right? And here's how, here's 7 tips and number 4 will shock you. That kind of shit. That's what they want. They want lists. They want recipes. They want a program. And then if it doesn't work for them, then they can tell you fuck off. And if it does work for them, then they're like, oh man, he's great. Okay, I can't say enough good things about him.
They're making things difficult for themselves because they're taking logic and adding emotion and colors and all these other things like vibe, energy, and all these other stupid things. So case in point, I think I just tweeted something, Rick. I think it was today. It was emotional intelligence. I fucking hate this word. The reason why I hate this word is because they don't exist on the same. If the ship is sinking, right? Or matter of fact, better yet, you're lost in Vegas. It's your first time here and you're trying to find the directions because the navigator's telling you things. What do you say if people are loud? Shut up. I need to think. I'm looking for directions. So we can't
turn down the radio.
We can't see these. So it's like, if you think about this, it's like, well, hypoxia, oxygenation. Okay, this is doublespeak. It doesn't make any sense. So if we think about this, it's like flaming water. Okay, it doesn't, like, these two things don't exist in the same universe at extremes. And they're always in contest with each other as opposing forces trying to denounce one another, emotion and logic. So I don't know why, but I think that it's also part and parcel due to a subset of the feminization of men. But if we get men to talk like this, vibes, and do all these words like energy and things, like whenever I hear guys say this, like I stay 10 feet away from them because they chick speak. So because what happens is you are the sum of the people you hang out with. Guess what, Rollo? If I hang out with you too long, I'm probably going to start saying some words that you say, right? I don't want those habits as well too. So that's the thing though. And and this is why it's so important for men to be genuine, not to mention with themselves, but also women can call you out on your bullshit. But when guys call you on your bullshit, it's totally different. The reason why I can say it's different is because when you're ostracized from men, it's different. We're ostracized from women on a regular fucking basis. But when there are guys and you break some bro code out there that's unwritten and you're ostracized, it's going to hit 10 times harder because you lost a real ally, somebody that would die for you. That's not incentivized to fuck you. That's not incentivized to do anything else. You lost a real fucking family member. This is why backbiting, backstabbing, and things like this with men, I mean, to me, it doesn't fly. Like, I have a zero tolerance for this. Like, I would never stab you in the back. That's why we call
it bitch behavior.
Yeah.
That's what a bitch would do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think roasting is one of the ways that we bond, believe it or not. I mean, we're sussing out this behavior, be it a handshake. When I greet you, I'm sizing you up. And not to mention, could you ever say this actually stops with friendships? No. I'm shit testing you.
Dude, I fuck with Mike all the time. I'm elbowing him. Like, you'll see us, like, we'll be on the show and I'll just like, because we have inside jokes like nobody at the table gets what we get, you know?
Yeah. So. Yeah. All right. Good shit, man. So I think that, I mean, one of the topics that I do want to move into, I know we could talk about manosphere content a lot, but I got into a recent conversation and I was in Spaces with this guy. I don't know if you're familiar with this guy. His name's Glenn Lawrence. Oh, yeah. We were talking and he brought up something about
Glenn who?
Polygyny. He brought up polygyny, and I was on this guy Abe Dinkus's page, and I think it was a YouTube channel, and I heard this guy defending polygyny. And as soon as I heard this, he was saying that it's not a sin in the Bible, and I was like, "Are you fucking serious?" So we got into this debate, and I literally had to drag this guy over the course of 45, however long it was. And I automatically put a bad taste in my mouth. But this goes to the point of when men say something and they espouse something that is cancerous to your circle or your tribe. To me, I feel like it's bitch behavior not to counteract this or to counter this when faced with this, because somewhere along the line, because this is recorded space, somebody's going to say, well, you're against this. How come you never said anything when Glenn Lawrence was saying this? So this is why I am putting this out to the universe. Glenn Lawrence, if you're listening, I do challenge you to a debate. And if you do not want to challenge me to a debate, then you're the guy that doesn't want to meet the school bully after dark, and you therefore know your place in the universe. So I'll just leave it at that. So, yeah, this is a call out. So, Sarah, if you're listening, I challenge you to a debate.
Let me ask you this: the first thing you were talking about was polygyny, right?
Yeah, polygyny.
So biblically, like, what was your premise on that?
So here's the thing: he can say, "Well, there's no sin in the Bible. It's not a sin. It's not mentioned. It happened." Well, the problem with this is when you look at Solomon, people like this who had like a lot of women, the outcome was a consequence. Not to mention that was this a consequence. Let's say that I have a wife, and this is the train of logic we went down. If I had a wife, let's just grant that it's not a sin mentioned in the Bible. And we have this covenant, it's just me and my wife. What would I need to do to introduce a new woman into this relationship? Sin. I need to go outside this covenant. There's no way you can get around this. So he couldn't reconcile this. Uttering stupid shit like, well, if your wife's okay with that, well, hold on, this isn't Christian either. Right. She's subverting your authority. There was no way to get around this. And then he came with this premise. And this, I'm just going on the frame of reference from the clip that I posted on this. If I'm Muslim and I have 3 wives and I convert to Christianity, what do I do with these other wives? Do we worship the same God? Do Muslims worship the same God as the Christian God? He said, it's a false God. I said, great, it's a false God. Can I practice these Muslim beliefs when I go into Christianity? It's like his worldview crumbles. So it's like, so when we think about this, and these are very rudimentary premises, right? That'll destroy his worldview. But if I look at this, I think that your view on sex and women in the marketplace tells me a lot about your value system and who you are as a man. So case in point, if you espouse yourself to be a pimp, a player, and maybe, okay, let's say you do use money, muscles, and game, but you're having to stab guys in the back to do this. All these other traits that we don't want to map on bitch behavior. So there's a lot of this, right? So we see in culture nowadays, because what people will do is the same thing and demonize the red pill. They'll say, I see a lot of descriptors, right? But I'm also going to give a prescriptor of how to do this. Right. This is how we undermine this guy's wife. I know she likes me a lot. Well, hold on, that's somebody's wife. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So if we think about this, like there's also inherent truths in nature that we have. So, I mean, if we think about this, if you're the guy that sleeps with people's wives, what does that say about me that I hang around with you? So it's like, I pay attention to these little cues with male behavior. So I think that if you're willing to do this with this, how come you can't stab me in the back with the same premise? Because my wife's around me. You just slept with somebody. You see what I'm saying? So I only want people who are genuine and who I support the same beliefs with. Case in point, when I heard this debate happening with Glenn Lawrence, quickly jumped into this and I was like, this is utter bullshit. It's automatically, because now you're espousing some theology behind it, and then you're using this to promote it. This is crazy. So if you're willing to go this far to bastardize something, what else are you willing to do around your boys? What else are you putting? If you consider yourself to be a prominent male figure in some space, because this is what you got written in your Bible, this should be crushed, which I plan on doing. Right. It's. I think it's along the same lines as like, I mean, just like even from an intellectual perspective, like if you see a fraud, you have to call the fraud out, or you're a fraud. Well, it's what we would call a sin of omission, because you're not speaking out about it. Like, let's say that there's a grape happening or some bad nefarious thing happened. How are you not party to it because you're not reporting it? And better yet, what does that say about you and your character if people call you out on it and you didn't stop this, but you allowed it? So if we think about these things, like, you have to be consistent in your logic and your rhetoric. And also you have to be genuine as well too, because you can be called up for your bullshit all the time. You're being shit tested by the world regularly. So when people talk about shit testing, it's not women that are doing this. Society is doing this to you at large, especially if you're a social media presence. Right. So I think that if you have a worldview that's faulty, it should be challenged. And if it crumbles, good, fucking good. Yeah. So
I think that's one of the things that like throws a lot of people off about me is because like I'll be married 29 years next week, or actually this weekend.
Oh, congrats.
Thanks. Yeah. And like I was telling you about that one article where that lady, the chick who slid into my DMs to give me the, you're quoted in this, right? I'm like, I wonder if she knows that, like, because she thinks I'm like some sort of divisive element in the manosphere, right? She thinks, they're fiendishly trying to tell these poor guys to be more toxic and to be more misogynistic. And I'm like, what? I wonder if you know that I've been married for like almost 29 years now. I wonder if you know that my daughter is like 27 and she's been married for 2 years now, right? I wonder if you know anything about
How
me
convenient.
whatsoever. And then what happens is, but that's from what, like, okay, from her perspective, very liberal, very lesbian, very whatever. I don't know what the fuck she is, but so that's for me, that's easy. That's a gimme, right? When one of the reasons why I think I'm still kind of on the back burner, I get ignored by like guys like Michael Knowles or Matt Walsh, is they don't know what to do with me, because I'll be on Twitter, and it's happened so often. It's like clockwork. There'll be like an Ashley St. Clair, or there'll be like, Isabella Moody or Isabella De Luca or whatever. They're all Isabellas, right?
Lila Rose.
Yeah, Lila Rose. Yeah, they presume that this is what you're about, and they don't know that, like, from my perspective, I'm the author of The Rational Male, right? I'm the guy who wrote the source material for 90% of these guys that are out there, you know, being public figures about whether they know it or they
Nobody
don't.
knows the lore.
Because it's been going
out.
on for so long. Yeah, right. Nobody knows. Yeah, I'm the
hidden lore is right in front of your
They know the
ass.
Lord of the Rings. They don't know who wrote the Silmarillion.
Right.
This guy. Yeah. But the thing is that I'll listen to them and they'll write something about like, oh, I've never seen a red pill guy who has a really good family life or has really healthy relationships. I'm like, bitch, the guy who wrote The Rational Male has exactly that. You don't know that. And the fact that you don't know that and you keep writing these same drive-by tweets leads me to believe that all you're about is just like slamming a tweet out there for engagement. And that's all you're really about, right? And so, after a while, people stop taking you seriously about that. But then it's like, then you've got sort of like the Matt Walsh effect where it's like, I've been married longer than Matt Walsh, you know, and he's very proud of his family and his kids and da-da-da. Great, more power to you. But why are we not having a conversation? Like I've heard him talk a lot more about like the red pill recently. Carl Benjamin, Sargon of Akkad, or am I saying that right? I think so. Carl Benjamin he's like completely pivoted over to more red pill topics lately.
Yeah, I saw that today with
and
the
I'm
tweet,
like, I'm like, dude, you're basically popping off about stuff that I was writing about in 2012. Have me on. Let's have a good discussion. Let's do what we're doing right here, or come to Vegas. I don't care. Let's have this conversation.
It's funny how lore triggers people alone,
but they just don't.
Present day phenomena.
And honestly, I think what it is it's the same dynamic that I told you, where you can't just give people data and stats and facts without telling them how to feel about that.
It has to
and
be
they just intellectual
bullshit.
lethargy is what it is, because they don't want to dig any deeper than it takes to get more clicks.
Nobody
and get
wants
more
to
engagement.
work.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to.
And we're accused of cheating. And they're the ones that are
I'm a cheating bodybuilder that just
Yeah.
puts needles in his body, like, but I don't work or I don't do any of this stuff. Everything's Photoshop nowadays. Andrew Wilson, that pineapple on the pizza was not Photoshop, by the way. So if we think about these things, it's like we have to also look at the rhetoric espoused like around us. I think that if you're a firm, fair, consistent male, and you're about that action, as it were, and you make it happen, I think you can be influential on everybody else around you. Case in point, you're a father, you're a husband first. If we think about this, that's the change that's incentivizing the world to map onto that. But here's the problem, though, is that if you do this, you become a target and you become sacrificial. So it's a double-edged sword. So it's like, and so also not only do people not know what to do with you, you also have to shield yourself. Because I mean, hiding something and then being private can be two different things, right? So I think you also have to protect yourself from the world around you.
Also, I'm not Nala Ray, so
yeah.
I think that
Funny you brought that up.
If I was some raging, frothing at the mouth, kind of like terrible misogynist, toxically masculine. Like if I was more like Myron Gaines, and then suddenly I had this come to Jesus moment, and I converted to Christianity or something, then maybe I get to go to Turning Point USA. Until that day happens, no, I guess I'm.
Then you're around some sewing circle Christians, and then it's like a whole pseudo feminist. Like it's just bad. But you brought up one person. You brought up Nala, which something gets used against me, and this recently came out because I'm adjacent to people that do attack people that currently do this. I used to be involved in a certain industry, and that is corn. I did a lot of solo content back in the day, and I suddenly found out, and this is something I knew would happen, that a lot of the past would come back to be weaponized against me. There's a lot of shame associated with this, but here's the thing. So I think everybody should be offered a redemption arc. Now, granted, there's a huge distinction between me and Nala. For one, I don't have my own ministry, and then I don't try to convert people.
wait, let's not call it a ministry. All it is it's like Kajabi courses is what it is. There's a difference, Nala. I don't know if you know this, but there's a difference between like Kajabi courses and a ministry. Okay, you're selling the previous.
So we have this pseudo ministry, maybe we'll call it that, and then you're telling people how to convert, what we're going to do, correcting people on scripture. No, this is how we say this. I don't even do this, let alone women can't do this, period, when it comes to laymen, as far as a Christian lay person, right? I don't even do this. I don't post scriptures on my social media. I don't lead with Christianity. I don't do any of this. The last thing I want people to do is just to call me out on some bullshit rhetoric and say, you're trying to I don't do that. I'm not an evangelist first. The second thing too is on my social media, my body's not everywhere. Even though I'm a pro bodybuilder, I'm really aware of it now that people can conflate the two. They'll say, well, you're showing your body. How are you different than the corn people that do this? Well, one's socially acceptable. I can go to school and talk to kids and then say, oh, you're the hero. You're me. And then the other, you can't do any of this stuff. It's divisive.
You can go to the AVN Awards.
I'll pass on that. So if we think about these two things, it's like, I've been told like, well, how are you different from this person? Well, I've given you all these details on why I'm different. The problem with this is I can never really truly run from this if somebody wants to use this. You ever see that scene in 8 Mile where Eminem says that his buddy lives in a trail park, he shot himself, and his name is whatever his name was, and he just starts unloading all this ammunition that the person was going to use against him? Well, I don't hide this information, and if anybody asks me, well, this is what I did. And the shameful part isn't that. It's the fact that they call it gay for pay, even though I've never done anything gay with another man. It was sold to that subsector. Right. What I did was I created content and I got checks, and then I didn't care what happened, but we have to be conscious of what we put out there in the ethos because things can be used. The knife can cut both ways.
Oh, yeah.
Now, granted, I was buying a Navigator. I bought a BMW, paid for this condo like 2 years in advance. But you got to understand, you can't undownload any of this stuff. You can't strip it off the internet. So now it's like people are looking for hypocrisy. They're saying, well, you're demonizing sex work because you used to do this. Well, hold on. If I was a person that did meth and I went with the DARE program, like they used to have this, and I said, well, hold on. I don't want you kids to do meth. But then somebody blasted pictures of 10 years, meth face, all this. It's actually quite malicious if I'm not doing this and it's 10 years from this. How is it hypocritical for me to even say, well, no, I don't want you to do this. Stop doing this. And I was accused of this. They said, well, no, you used to do this and then somebody's currently doing this. You can't tell them to stop. This logically doesn't make any sense. Therefore, nobody can tell people to stop doing something. I should actually be one of the best references as to why we can't be in this industry and why it's bad. Not only this, but it's life ruination, because if you think about this, I do plan on competing, but think about how politically this could be used against me in the IFBB. Not to mention that, think about me running for office because I love debates. Think about law enforcement. Think about a teaching position. So if we think about life ruination, nobody ever thinks about this, let alone bullied kids at school. Things like, yo, your mom's banging 10 dudes, here you go. Like, there's so much more. And not to mention this, skyrocketing rates of depression in this industry, all of this. And this isn't even a saving grace. I don't think men are as demonized as women are. But that's why I conduct myself online in a certain way where none of my posts are sexual, because I stay far away from that. I don't ever want people to weaponize and say that I'm a hypocrite in any kind of way. And also, I have to live this lifestyle and it has to be genuine, because you know what's going to happen? People that I love and I call myself family are going to distance themselves really fast.
Right.
So,
yeah, I was going to say, it's like, I think I was like, we were off camera. I was saying, like, would you rather have if you're hooked on like heroin or something like that, would you rather have a drug counselor who has only read books about living the life of a heroin addict? Would you only want somebody who has like sort of book knowledge, or would you be better off with a guy who has been a former addict and knows can be empathetic, right? He knows what you're going through, and knows all the phases and the stages. He's just as book smart as the other guy, but he's actually experienced it. Which one is a better drug counselor? I would argue that it's going to be the guy who already knows what you're going through, because he's experienced it himself, right? And so that applies to a lot of different things, just like I said, by order of degree. So it's just kind of like, when I think one of the things that people expect me to do is to be like really pro marriage. They want, because I have a really good marriage. I've been married for 29 years. I know I attribute a lot of this, well, probably most of the success of my marriage to red pill principles, to understanding male nature, female nature, my wife's nature, my own nature, and how in the confluence of the two of them. Right. And so, but yet I'm still here saying, marriage is an all downside risk for guys as it stands today, right? I understand the institution of marriage. I know that it is a formalization of monogamy. I 100% agree with that. I think it could be a really great experience. I wish people could enjoy what I have with my wife, but I'm not going to insult people and say, oh, well, here's 12 rules for a perfect marriage or 7 hot tips to have a great marriage. Because I know what works for me, and I understand on an individual level, like what I experience in my own marriage. I don't go off on that very much. I'll do marriage shows now and then, but like I'll do them with like James Sexton, right? And we'll talk about divorce statistics and marriage, statistics and stuff like that. And I'm just like
data.
Yeah, just throw out data there. And it doesn't mean I'm anti-marriage. I'm not anti-marriage.
You're not manipulating the data.
I'm anti. I didn't see it coming. Yeah, I didn't see it coming. I didn't know what was happening. I want people to be informed. Even that's even what James Sexton talks about is, like when a couple gets together, like, more about the title of your home and your mortgage, or there's more paperwork for that, or there's more, like, you're buying a new car and you have a payment for your car, and this is what your liabilities are for, like, financing this automobile. You have more information about that than you do about your own marriage, what you're liable for. And all we're doing is just giving you the paperwork. We're just saying, here's the stats, man. We're not trying to say, go and do it or don't go and do it, but at least go in with both your eyes open. And apparently that's too much for people. They just don't want to. They don't want to hear that. Again, telling people how to feel about the data. That's what they really want, and that's what they want me to say. They want me to be very pro marriage, and I am in my own situation. But I'm not going to sit here and lie to my audience and say, "Oh, and just do what I did, and you'll be fine, and you'll have a great marriage." They
don't want to do the work. It goes back to not doing the work. They want to be handheld through this whole process. This is one of the reasons why I don't get here and I lead with like Christianity or any of this stuff. If anybody asks me about this, then I'll say, yes, of course. But I'm not about to sit there. I'll point them in the direction of somebody whose job and purpose is this, but that's not my purpose, job, and function as it stands for me being on a podcast with Rollo Tomasi, who wrote The Rational Male. By the way, good book. You should buy that. So back to this. I think that when it comes to me being an advocate, I think we could choose what to be an advocate for, but you damn well better not lead people astray while doing it. There's so much responsibility. If you were espousing this marriage propaganda and you were going to say, let's do this, well, hold on, we can't have cautionary tales and we can't have data. So now it's like, how much are we skewing data at a certain point? We start imbuing emotion and anecdotes and everything else with this. So if I'm talking about religion, yeah, it's only because somebody brought it up. And then not to mention this, but I mean, that's the only reason why I'm bringing it up. But if I'm pushed for information, then I'll bring it up.
If I'm asked about it, like
that's it.
See, that's the thing that gets people is, like, if I talk about body count, for example, this is a good topic. If I talk about body count and I go, okay, because I've literally done like 2 and 3 hour shows with Myron Gaines about body count and how it, like, statistically it affects, your women's ability to pair bond, divorce statistics, sexual diseases, and you go on down everything we know commonly about body count. We've been discussing that since like 2020 or 2012 or 2022, and I mean, seriously, we have done the marathon length shows about that kind of stuff, which is where really a lot of people got this, what happened. But it's what I call the telephone game. It's like you get 10 kids in a room and you tell one a secret, and by the time it gets to the 10th kid, it's completely different from the one that you had said. So, like, think of that episode as sort of like the first kid in the telephone game, and now we're at the 10th kid, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, the world will be destroyed if we don't get these girls to lower their body counts, right?" And then you got the other guys who are anti-red pill, and they go, "I can't believe these red pill guys would talk about body count."
Two different people that don't understand.
Just don't understand it. It just gets so convoluted. But the thing is when I'm asked about body count, I'll give you the statistics. I've done those shows. I've done the practical, objective legwork. But if you privately are going to ask me about, well, what's your opinion on all of this? I'm going to say, I could give 2 shits about body count. Once you pass 50, all of that pretentious bullshit just flies out the window, man. I don't care what a woman's body count is, not at my age, not, And I understand why guys would like to, you know, really put a real emphasis on it, because it's how they like beat themselves up. You know, all these girls are ran through. I'm never going to find a girl because they're all have high body
thing when
counts.
I talk about bodybuilding.
And like all you're using that for
Yeah.
is just a cope for your own inability to go out and go and do something, you know, go and do anything. You're not going to be the first guy to fuck that chick. Accept that for what it is and work within that system.
Yeah.
Don't wish it were easier, wish you were fucking better, right?
Mhm.
But, you know, I'm just like, I don't care. And then when women ask me that, well, don't you red pill guys hate women who have lots of high body counts? Not at all.
So detached.
You know, if you don't care about marriage, red flags are green flags, man. It's like, go for it.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
It's bizarre world opposites.
And,
Yeah.
And again, there's, I mean, statistically, yeah, it's true. But like the thing is like even women who have high body counts, it doesn't mean they can't pair bond. They're only pair bonding with the guy who is the most dominant alpha that they remember.
Yeah, we're not making a monolith
okay,
here.
when I talk about like alpha widows, right? Oh, would you rather be with a woman who has a body count of 3, but one of those dudes, one of those 3 was like the most alpha guy she had ever been with, and he died in battle, he died in war or something, like in a very noble cause, and she just can't get over him? Or would you rather get with a girl who's like has a 15 or a 20 body count, but you are the most alpha guy that she's ever been with, and she just forgets all about the rest of those guys? What would you rather have? The girl with a high body count and she worships you? Or would you rather get with the girl with the lower body count and she's still pining for her old, you know, widowed, you know, husband who's in the ground in Arlington? Like that, like you go and you take those two things, and then suddenly body count gets put into a different perspective.
There's a lot of misinformation out there. Case in point, like the single mothers, they get bastardized all the time. I will say that I'm against most single mothers, like date and advocate for that. But here's the reason why I don't create a monolith and I don't say it's an absolute on single mothers, because there's 2 classes that I'll even bring up. For example, let's say you have a single mom that's widowed. Okay, she had no choice. We're just going to demonize her because somebody passed away. The second example, she's abandoned. I'm not going to demonize a woman because she's abandoned. I have friends, you know, I know a woman that is with somebody that's like family to me. The same thing happened to her, but then they go after her husband and say, well, hold on, you're coming after single, you know, they're coming after single women. But a lot of these people, they don't understand that there's a disconnect. So it's like whenever we always have to look at the situation, right? Case by case. You can't say everyone, right? The same thing with body count. But here's the thing though. Most cases, I could say in most cases, I do want to stay away from somebody that works at a strip club or that's a prostitute, things like this. Most cases, I do want to stay away from women. Yes. So the same thing, like as a data packet, I'll look at this as data and do what it would like, work with this information like it's fire. Do I plan to cook with this, or do I plan to burn witches at this stake with this?
Right.
I have to pick my road.
Well, like Sartain will talk about this. He'll be like, you know, he will date and have sex with porn stars and strippers and FHM models, but he's not marrying them. You're not on the long-term list. You are recreational use only. And he'll be the first one to tell those girls that too. And if that's not the case and they're not okay with that, then, you know, he's got sexual selectivity that most guys don't have. So, like when I'm talking about, again, like if we're talking about body count, there's me giving the statistics about it, or single mothers for that matter. There's me giving the statistics about it. And then there's like, okay, what's your opinion of this?
That's a different conversation.
Like I said, the red pills are praxeology.
Yeah.
If you want me to tell you why guys have a hesitation to get with a single mother, like a evolutionary part of their psyche,
it's still data.
Still data.
Yes.
Is it right or wrong? Oh, that's a whole nother conversation we can have. That's the practice. There's
now you're talking about prescriptions.
Red pill is the theory.
Whole different.
Game is the practice, or whatever you want. Like whatever you choose as your best practices for your living your life. Most people don't know that you're basing your belief set on your belief set is basically a set of best practices. This is the best way to live your life. Okay, these are best practices. What is that based on? It could be based on the Bible. It could be based on data. It could be based on like your dad having a talk with you at some point in your life, or your mom, or how your upbringing. Maybe it was somebody that you met in the military or in your schools, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like it's not just from one source. It's from like a variety of sources that have helped you sort of develop the belief sets that you have. And what are those belief sets? they transfer into behaviors. What are those behaviors? Best fucking practices. So if you're going to ask me, Rollo, what about single mothers? I'm going to give you the data, and I'm going to tell you the evolutionary reason why men don't want to get with single moms. It's about paternity. That's what it is. And it's about cuckoldry, and it's about paternity.
Well,
it's about parental investment. And then if they say, well, Rollo, what do you think we should do? That's a whole different conversation.
I will actually say more. So this is what I will often tell men. I'll say, I'll go down the what if scenario and then tell them that these are possibilities because we look at outcomes. I'm not like a utilitarian to some regard, but when we look at this, I'll say, well, okay, how much authority will you have in this household if little Timothy, who's not your son, puts holes in the walls and fails the grades, and you say, I'm taking all your electronics out of the room, and she says no, because there's two distinct things that can happen. There's language and then there's action. She can say, not my son. Well, hold on. If it was our son, that changes things differently, right? So I have all the responsibility to protect Timothy from gunfire, make sure he's fed, all this. But when it comes
protection and parental investment.
Exactly. But when it comes down to putting my foot down and saying, no, not underneath my roof, is it really my roof? So I will talk to guys about this, and I'll say, well, that's an outcome that could possibly happen. But will I say, do I think they should do this or not? That's a different conversation of like what you should do prescription. I will never offer this. I'll never say, nope, I wouldn't if I were you. Well, hold on. That's no longer what we call red pill. You're actually going on to some feel, felt, found rhetoric, and that's a wholly different subject.
Yeah.
Entirely.
That's why I get all bent out of shape when I listen to these guys talking about, well, the red pill's really just a political thing, or it's it's about finding truth and blah blah blah. I'm like, dude. So what I do is I go back to my days on So Suave, and I get a screen cap of the earliest instance of me using the term red pill, which was December of 2004, I think. I'll go, if you have something that predates this post, I'll believe you. Go ahead. All of this started in the seduction community,
back to the
not
lore.
in your politics, not in your Republicans, not in your alt-right bullshit, not in Trump 1 or Trump 2. To show, if you can show me an earlier instance of you guys using this, then I'm all ears.
It rolls like does. Vatican I, Vatican II. I mean,
these guys are like 90% of these kids are like, if they were even alive then, they were watching Jimmy Neutron and Fairly Odd Parents while I was out here having these same conversations.
Way before Sally Jesse Raphael, if you don't.
All right, well, let's before we go, you have a book coming out. Let's talk about your book.
Oh, yes. I'm glad you brought that up because I would have just slipped. So there's a book that I'm going to come out with, and it's probably publishing this in 4 months. Rachel Wilson, she's going to write the foreword to this, and it's analogous. The reason why is because the title of this book is called The Female Warrior Fallacy. I go over the whole history in as many cultures as I can find, right? And still searching and sifting. A lot of this was romanticized, revisionist history, fictitious. So if you look at the likes of Xena Warrior Princess, this class of warrior never existed, right? We look at the Celtic societies, the Amazons never existed. They were the cleanup crew. I'm just giving you an example from the book. If you look at cleanup crews from societies, that's what they were. So if you had a bystander walk by and say, oh, this woman's taking a bus, she might have killed that man. No, you had to clean up bodies off of the battlefield from the enemies getting slaughtered. So we sent in women to do this dirty work. And of course, that's where a lot of this myth and legend came from, down to Xinshi from China. Legend has it, she was taken aboard a ship and held captive, and she punched the guy in his face and said, you're going to give me half your business. Do we really think this happened? This was written by 2 authors in America who wrote fiction, and they also wrote stories that were also fictitious, detective novels, and then now we have the origin story of Xinshi. So it goes over everything from buffalo women to even social justice warriors, down to women who killed and murderers, and they're getting half the time. The woman who stabbed her husband in California off of weed-induced rage got no time. So I go over every single thing, and this coincides with a lot of feminist culture and propaganda. So if we look at how this plays out, the propaganda piece is, if we look in movies, we have Captain Marvel, who you can't relate to. She never had a character story building arc.
Mary Sue.
She just woke up one day and just contracted these powers, and now she's beating men to a pulp. Whereas we had Ellen Ripley, Sarah Connor, you can relate to them. They're fragile women. They use their brain, guts. You can actually go to the theater and say, you know what? I buy this character. Women don't even buy Captain Marvel, let alone any other figure we have. So now we have this bastardized version of a woman cosplaying as man. So really, in reality, I think you would agree with me on this. I think you shared one of my posts that a lot of women are just low tier men. And now that we have this in society, this is being espoused and propagandized. My book goes into all this. It goes into the beginning of prehistoric. When we go into cave women, so I debunk actually everything from the archaeological exhibits being drug up. These were heirlooms as swords. The women had no body damage when they were buried. My book is so comprehensive, but you know what's going to happen? I'm going to be even a bigger target, and I'm ready to debunk everybody, and I'm ready to have fisticuffs in debate against every feminist that denies anything that's in this book. You can go ahead and counter as much as you can. It's well-sourced and looked at and peer-reviewed.
It reminds me of this one article. Well, I actually have seen this in other articles too, but this one article about how it got passed around and published, but it was about how women were actually hunters. They were like really great hunters.
I debunked this in my book.
And there's a great Aporia, and then there was a debunking article on it on Aporia. And so they went through like all these different cultures and looked at these tribal cultures, and they looked at like where the women were doing, like, well, did they actually do any kind of hunting? They did. But they only did like small game hunting. Like they would fashion the nets that would catch little birds, kind of thing. Yeah. Or fishing was assumed to be a form of hunting.
I think I called them the cleanup crew in my book as well. It's 10 out to that.
If you're deep sea fishing, then maybe, but that's not what they were doing, right?
They're more gatherers than hunters.
Netting fish, right? Gathering stuff.
They're more gatherers than hunters.
They didn't go out and huck spears at like woolly mammoths and caribou and stuff like that. They weren't out there hunting
They didn't wrestle big game to the ground.
Bring it back to the did they tag? I mean, depending on how, but that's the really the point that I was making about the whole thing is really what they wanted. And this is endemic of sort of like the female psyche, is if they can't compete in the realm of men, change the rules, change the game so that the player can actually play at the level where they can actually shine, where they can actually do it. So it's like when the WNBA first came out and they were trying to get people to come and watch the games. The reason why people weren't coming to the games is because nobody could dunk. They couldn't get to the net, right? It was life below the net. So they were seriously talking about like lowering the nets like a foot or two. They
took such big offense to this.
Yeah, and that
how are we not benevolent and fair?
And you know why they didn't? Because it fundamentally changes the game. They're not playing basketball anymore. They're playing women's basketball now because we've lowered the nets to 10 feet instead of 12 feet, whatever it was, right? And so that the poor little ladies could dunk and make things a little bit more interesting, right? Or women's soccer, for that matter. You got what's her Megan Rapinoe bitching and complaining about stuff, and it's then you've got like teenage kids in high school teams that are whipping their asses, right?
Yes,
and maybe if you got good, here's the thing is what women will do is they want to change the nature of the game to suit the talents and the gifts and the abilities, I should say, of the players themselves. In this case,
you're being kind here because they actually flip the table over with the pieces. They don't even
So what do they do? They got taller chicks who can dunk, and then they evolved the game, so they didn't have to do that.
We don't see this in the inverse though. We, like you said about bodybuilding, we don't see women going into those spaces and dominating. Yeah. I wait with great impatience to see if a woman can go over into the male league and just dominate, cross over a guy, break some ankles. You know what? Yeah. We'll see that.
You notice it's always waiting here. You notice it's always males who transition to females who go in and just dominate the sport, but it's never the females who want to be male and come in and dominate the male sports. I wonder why that is. It's a Scooby-Doo mystery.
But they do this with everything else, though. They can't be consistent. You're going to take the CEO position. You're going to go into every other space. Why not do this? Oh, biology happens to be in the way.
Well, but see, it goes back, like I was saying, that article where they're talking about like how it's called the myth of the female hunter is what it was called. And it is a myth because what they were trying to do is they're just trying to redefine what hunting was. They're changing the nature of the game is hunting. Well, the little ladies were technically hunting because they were netting little pigeons and stuff like that.
I'm glad you brought that up. So
Yeah.
I go over into the book, and if you look in the dictionary, because definitions are not an absolute, they're not a static position. They move from culture to culture and change. Because if I walked into this room and I said, "Hey, are you guys having a gay old time?" Everybody think I was talking about homosexuality? But now it doesn't mean happy. It used to. Right. So language is always changing. So in the book, I go over into what is a warrior. And then I suss this out and I say, well, a warrior, this is my definition of the warrior. And this is what society attacks and tries to change. A warrior to me is somebody who can compete on the level of a man and fight men. So we're talking about the equivalent of what men can do. Now, if we hold this standard, try to attack this. So I create a definition so that way the women can attack. So that way they can't put words in my mouth. So my book automatically does this. Because if you don't have a definition, you can't have a standard and you can't have a metric. And if we don't have any of this, what are you really addressing? And this is what women do. They'll fog language all the time. Vibes. The fuck is a vibe?
Yeah.
If I tell you what energy is, they'll say, well, no, I just got to match his energy. You know, it's all about his energy. If you ask 5 different women, you're going to get 5 different answers. Hence why I have to come out with warrior and say what that is and be really distinct about this and then narrow it down, attack that.
That's because women speak an emotional language and men speak an empirical language.
Conditional language?
You are speaking from a position of empirical, objective, realistic, reality. Women place emotion before reality. It's feels before reals, right? We've heard that before. Our natural language is empiricism. Women's natural language is emotionalism. So when you hear the word vibe, I'm going to explain to you why they use vibe and energy and crystals.
My stomach is churning, but go ahead.
So here's
Rollo.
So I just brought this up on my Sunday show. I don't know if you're familiar with the author Arthur C. Clarke. He's a science fiction author, and he was a futurist too, right?
Yeah.
And so one of his great quotes, I use this in my 4th book, was any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, right? So if you went back in time and you had a Zippo lighter and you went back to the Middle Ages and you used the Zippo lighter,
Salem witch trials
they would burn you at the stake because you're the devil. Because they don't understand the technology. It's easy to figure out, right? You know, there's a gas and the little spark and stuff. Or if you went back to, like, say, the 1900s and you had an iPhone and it actually worked, and you say, I have all the world's knowledge on this one little box right here. I can go look it up, or AI or whatever else. People would like either think you're crazy or they would like say you're the devil as well back then. So if you have an advanced technology that people don't understand, and technology can be anything, right? It doesn't have to be like a piece of tech or a cell phone or something like that. It could just be something that is it could be chemical, right? It could be whatever. If you don't understand how that thing works, human beings have always done this. We've had to apply the word magic or vibes or energy or all this stuff. Now, what they're doing is they're describing a feeling that they have. Now, I can describe to you, here's why you think this is vibes, because the visual cues he's giving you, their pheromones, this, and I can run down all the day. I can tear the car apart and put it back together piece by piece. And you call that car vibes or energy or whatever else because you don't understand how the car works. I do, because I'm a guy and I think in terms of empirical realism and mechanics and stuff like that. And the reason why they call it vibes is because it's magic to them, because they don't understand the technology. And in this case, the technology might be, I don't understand why I'm attracted to this guy. If we're vibing, then I'm going to go sleep with him. The vibing is whatever he's doing, the behaviors that he's showing you and the visual cues and all the stuff that's going on in the right environment and everything else. That's what's making you attracted to this guy. But again, women don't want you to explain the game to them. They want you to play the game with them. So you have to be able to go, oh, vibing? Yeah, man, I love it when we're vibing together. It's awesome. And I understand the bullshit that's going on because I understand the mechanics.
I want to believe I was making the choice.
Yes.
It was my own suggestion.
It
was me who decided. No, it wasn't.
I checked my astrology charts and I asked my magic 8 ball if I was going to meet you. And you know what? I dreamed about you last night and here you are. This this is just serendipity. It's just divine intervention. Thank you, God. Like
Yeah.
it's energy, it's vibes, it's whatever else. It's just because women don't understand technology.
I think when people function at a higher magnitude, at a higher level, I'm going to bring him up, and not to bring up Andrew Wilson this whole panel, but when he functions at a high level, and you're talking about rhetoric, logic, and consistency, and you're talking about a high level of philosophical acumen, right? A lot of women will look at this and say, you're mean. He's just fighting stupid people. Well, it looks stupid because you're being made look stupid, because a lot of people don't function at this high level. So that's why when I could say, well, he's the Michael Jordan magician of what he does, it's because it's hard to find people that function at this level. I mean, not to bastardize women everywhere, but it's hard to find women in spaces that men dominate. And the reason why is because most women are passive. Most men are more aggressive. Now, we could argue that that's changing by and large, but guess what's going to happen? Certain people are going to shine a whole lot more, and they're going to create this distinction where you can see this difference, and they're changing the world, much like me. I'm getting out there, and this is something I'm doing right now. One last bit. I'm doing debates, and I'm trying to find people who are really good at debating. And I've been accused of this too on social media. People will say, well, all you're doing is battling lefties that are stupid. Well, all your arguments are just amount to transitioning minors and things like they're not really
I can't
good.
help it if lefties are stupid.
But here's the thing: I don't run from debates. I don't run from anybody. I'm trying to find somebody with a strong position. Conservatives just happen to be dominant at this. When it comes to traditionalism, bodybuilding, and I'm going to tie this all together: debates, and then even when we look at red pills of praxeology, refute it. If you can refute this, it's always going to look like a red flag to you because you have to adjust and conform to what this is. Otherwise, it's feels before reals. It's a vibe, and it's going to look like dark magic to you because you're never going to understand this. So, of course, I'm a self-filtration system. If I show up and I take my shirt off and I'm on a beach, I don't care how hot this woman is. She understands that there's a standard and that she's going to have to meet in these metrics. And of course, she's going to either say, well, I don't know, I'm not intimidated by this guy. Yeah, there's a lot of discipline and a lot of suffering. He looks
like he's very insecure.
Yeah, or it's insecure, or I have to talk, or he only debates stupid people. Yeah. Like, it's all the same shit that we go down. It's the same rhetoric, and all you're doing is trying to tear something down that's just consistent. Yeah, that's what we men are. For the most part.
Well, cool, man. This has been a great conversation. I knew this was going to work.
We could keep going, man. So
yeah, I would love to. So you got your book coming out. What's in it? What's the title of it again?
It's The Female Warrior Fallacy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Rollo, by the way, I'm letting you guys know Rollo's offered to maybe possibly do the cover of the book.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. I've done it enough. I've done it enough for Aaron Clary, so or whatever. But thanks for coming, man. It's been good.
Yeah, no doubt. Oh, no fish hand.
No fish hand.
Automatically sizing Rollo up.
But before we go, I got to ask you, how much do you bench press?
This guy, according to my vibe, let's go ahead.
What's your deadlift?
Let's do a vibe check on that first before we get to that.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Access Vegas will be tomorrow, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. We will have Mystery on. He's our male guest tomorrow. And I got to say, this is going to be a big show because you got myself, Rollo Tomasi, we got Mike Sartain, you got Mystery, and I forget his friend's name. I'm sorry. He's his partner that they're doing classes and stuff with. We'll probably have anywhere between 6 and 8 girls, so it's going to be a full house tomorrow. Do check in. That's going to be a really big show, really, and be a part of it. Because it's the first show that Access Vegas is now, my channel is now monetized, so you can actually do super chats finally again. And I'm going to host it. Not only am I hosting it on Access Vegas, it'll be on the Rational Mail as well. So we'll be hosting it in 4 different places. It'll be on my channel, it'll be on Access Vegas, it'll be on Mike's channel, and we'll be on our Rumble channel. So any of those 4 that you want to go to, please go to watch whatever your preference is. Go and watch those, and watch this one because this is going to be a big one. Like I said, full house tomorrow. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Take care.
I need to feel you on top. was my first time, but I was just a kid when we met and went to bed. It was my first time. What do you expect from me? I'm breaking up the rules now in the game. I've got some new tools. Please do the same. Time came by and went over like a matchbox stereo. Time to get my thoughts now, let go. Bound to keep me up all night. But maybe we can fuck again, and maybe things are different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. Won't you put it on me one more again? I need to know if maybe we can fuck again, then maybe things are different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. You could have the best of my life. The best of my life. Now we're fucking in the bathroom, tearing up every wall while I got your hair. Why you screaming my name? She was swinging in the bedroom, whole time stopping and stuffing with her hair, like she's Claudia Kelly. So baby, come ride me up and down like a pony, turning up my song, getting nasty, working up and down on your body. Ride me up and down like a pony, turning up my song on your body. Baby, we'll get down to it all night. But maybe we can fuck again, and maybe things are different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. Won't you put it on me one more again? I need to know if maybe we can fuck again, then maybe things are different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. You know, can we have some more life?
Sitting Podcast has been a production of The Rational Male. All rights reserved. 2025 registered trademark. And don't steal Martae stuff.